We can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, is everybody ready? Yeah. Commissioner Johnson, will you do the pledge tonight? You good?
Ken, is that what we're starting with?
No, I'll start the meeting.
Okay, just making sure. It's like, wait, I don't have the agenda page up yet.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, May 5th, 2021 Reno City Planning Commission. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Johnson, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Michelle, can we please have roll call?
John Marshall is absent. JD Draculich.
Here.
Peter Gower.
Here.
Mark Johnson.
Here.
Arthur Munoz.
Here.
Alex Felto is absent. Kathleen Taylor.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, public comment. Michelle, do we have any public comment?
We did receive 3 emails. They were just random comments. One was related to Burning Man. One was related to rent control, and the other was related to the temporary fire station. We did not receive any voicemails for this item.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes. First item is 4.1, Reno City Planning Commission regular March 17th meeting minutes. Do we have a motion, commissioners?
Madam Chair, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion? Okay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 4.2, Reno City Planning Commission regular meeting minutes of the April 7th, 2021 meeting.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve. A second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, public hearings. Item 5.1 was pulled from the agenda. Jeff, do you have to say anything?
No, this item was pulled because of an applicant noticing error, and it'll be heard as soon as possible.
Thank you. Moving right through the agenda, 5.2. This is case number LDC 21-00049, Bill Pierce Motors Porsche dealership. This is a request for a conditional use permit. Michelle, do we have a presentation from the applicant?
Yes, I believe we have Eric Wilkinson in the meeting. Eric, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. You have 15 minutes to do your presentation, so you can start whenever you're ready. If you want to bring your PowerPoint
Okay.
and share your screen.
Does everybody see that?
Yes. Could you just put it in a slideshow? Yeah, there.
Like that.
Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Eric Wilkinson, and I will be presenting Bill Pierce Porsche dealership conditional use permit. So first of all, our site is located at 0 Bishop Minogue Drive, adjacent to South Virginia Street, in between DeMonte Ranch Parkway and South Meadows Parkway. Currently, the site is zoned for multi-use suburban, with multi-use surrounding the property and also bordering Washoe County. On this slide, this is our overall development on the site. We have a 22,000 roughly 25,000 square foot building with parking and adjacent inventory for cars. Additionally, there is a Zone A flood designation for this area of the site. Here we have our proposed landscaping. We do have an existing drainage facility that runs parallel with South Virginia Street, which we will be utilizing on site. We do have existing parkway landscaping to remain, and additional landscaping on site per code. So for project information, our existing site area is 5 acres. Existing zoning is mixed use suburban with a master plan designation as mixed use suburban also. For site breakdown, our total developed area covers about 94% of the total site. With that development, 67% is impervious area, which is for pavement and concrete. And our total pervious area is roughly 32% of the site. This includes landscape and detention facilities. Our landscape area for this site is right at 21%, meeting the 20% requirement. And our total area of site that is Zone A is roughly 48% of the total site area. We do plan on raising the building finished floor to be at least 1 foot higher than the adjacent, highest adjacent Zone A elevation, which I will show in the next slide. So this is just a blown up version of our site plan. Originally, when we first submitted, we did propose loading and unloading as for truck loading and unloading here at the rear of the lot. I do realize in the staff report, we are gonna need to relocate that area based on the adjacent existing zonings. This is mostly going to be inventory parking for business operations. Here at the eastern portion of the site, we do have that Zone A boundary running through our building. And we will be, here it lists that we will be 2 feet higher than the highest adjacent Zone A elevation, with that being better than code. This area out here is proposed to be a vehicle display plaza, which will be seen by South Virginia Street. And this section AA kind of shows how we're going to build that. It's going to be basically a 20-foot extension off of backside of curb with a landscape slope catching existing grade into the existing detention facility. This is a blow up of our preliminary grading plan. Currently, we are looking to have a balanced site, even though we're raising our building at least 2 feet higher than the adjacent grades. And currently we are sloping from a west to east kind of position, and catching these slopes with underground drainage and to be routed to the existing detention facility and to catch our stormwater. This is the eastern portion of the site. Because we're kind of propping up our building, we do need to reconfigure some of the existing entrances. But again, we're sloping everything towards the existing detention facility. Here we have proposed architectural elevations. This east elevation will be seen off of South Virginia Street. And this south elevation will be seen off of Bishop Minogue Drive. The north elevation will be seen basically from Bishop Minogue High School on the backside, and this north elevation will be seen off of the existing dealership on the north, and this west elevation will be seen from Bishop Minogue Drive or Bishop Minogue High School. This is our proposed site photometric plan for exterior lighting. We do not plan on spilling any light over into Bishop Minogue Drive or the surrounding properties. And this is our proposed exterior signage, which would be located adjacent to South Virginia Street within our existing property. And with that, that is our slideshow.
Thank you. Michelle, do we have a presentation?
I believe we have Nathan on the line. Eric, could you take your or stop sharing your screen?
Yes.
Pretty please. Nathan, are you ready to do your presentation?
I am ready. Yeah. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, Nathan Gilbert, Associate Planner. Eric covered the basis of the request, but I do have a brief slide presentation to cover some key points. Just to reiterate the request this evening, there's one request, and that's for a conditional use permit to establish the auto dealership use in the mixed use suburban zone. That's the only request this evening, is to establish the auto dealership use on the subject site. Just to give a little overview of the area, the subject site is located abutting South Virginia Street, which is of course a major arterial. This portion is located on a suburban corridor identified in the master plan structure plan. It's essentially an extension of the existing Bill Pierce Motors to the north. There are of course several other auto dealerships across South Virginia Street to the east. There's vacant land to the south. And then in unincorporated Washoe County, there's Bishop Minogue High School to the west and St. Rose of Lima Church to the southwest. It is an unincorporated Washoe County. The Bishop Minogue site does feature a medium density suburban designation in Washoe County zoning, which will correlate to a residential zoning district in our code. And so accordingly, all residential adjacency standards in code related to zoning do apply to this project and have been incorporated into the project design. Key issues in staff's analysis outlined in your staff report are overall compatibility with the surrounding area and development in the floodplain. Regarding public comment, initial courtesy notices about the project were sent out when the project was received at intake, as well as the official public hearing cards for tonight's proceedings. No public comment for or against the project was received. wanted to cover there are 4 conditions of approval recommended in your staff report. Condition 5 relates to enhanced pedestrian amenities along South Virginia Street. The project design really incorporates the same aesthetic and setbacks of the existing dealership to the north. This carries forward that aesthetic, the meandering sidewalk and street trees, and about almost 130 feet of landscape area in the front, which also accommodates impervious surfaces and the on-site detention facility. So code would typically require at least 30% of that building orientation towards South Virginia Street. It does allow for variation with enhanced pedestrian amenities, including plazas, fountains, seatings, additional landscaping, things of that nature, which would be reviewed with the final plans. Condition 6 relates to a required tree inventory and mitigation plan. There are several mature trees within the setback that would, along South Virginia Street, that would require mitigation. They're going to do an overall tree inventory for the entire site for staff evaluation on that. Condition 7, Eric kind of touched on that, was relocation of the truck loading and unloading zone. The site is set back about 75 feet from the Bishop Minogue property line, and the high school itself is separated by extensive mature landscaping and their own parking area. So there is a great deal of buffer. That being said, the existing residential adjacency zoning would generally discourage and preclude that kind of truck loading and unloading. So that condition would require it to not face the residential zoning districts. And then condition 8 relates to the code-compliant pedestrian routes within the parking area. This is a new provision in code and would need to be addressed at final plans. Lastly, regarding the floodplain issue, about half the site is in the flood zone A. Code does allow this. The final plans must meet all Reno Municipal Code standards as well as regional drainage requirements. The site design incorporates overall mitigation. Base code would be 1 foot. This project proposes that the building be elevated 2 feet. So it's twice what the base minimum code standards are for mitigation in this district. Also, overall site design features limited fill. As Eric mentioned, this is essentially a balanced site. Adequate on-site detention is provided, and the site is designed with extensive low-impact development design concepts. With that, staff can make the findings and recommends approval, and we are available for any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Okay, commissioners, let's do some disclosures. Let's start with the birthday boy, Commissioner Draculich.
No disclosures.
Commissioner Johnson?
Excuse me, Commissioner Johnson, no disclosures.
Commissioner Gower?
No disclosures.
Commissioner Munoz?
Sorry, new screen. I couldn't find my mute button. I visited the site. Other than that, no other disclosures.
Commissioner Taylor, I'm familiar with the site. No disclosures after that. Michelle, do we have any public comment?
We did not receive any public comment or voicemails for this item.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions of either the applicant or Nathan, if we have some. I'd like to get us started.
I'm Chair, Commissioner Johnson. I've got I guess a question first for Nathan. So the condition for the enhanced pedestrian amenities, I believe that's written in a way that's open-ended enough to give options to the applicant. Is there, I guess, is there an understanding at the community development level when this comes in for review in terms of what level that needs to be at? Because it's so open-ended, I'm not sure if they add 1 bench of seating along the walkway, is that enough? Just trying to understand how that's, if it's conditioned, which I understand, but how is it implemented at permit?
Thank you, Nathan Gilbert, for the record. That's a condition. It is code. Code would allow that by right. So that is something that could be a staff determination. I brought that to the commission's attention because I thought it was germane to the overall site design. Similar projects comes to mind, a Lexus dealership, also what was formerly the South Virginia Transit Corridor, had a similar provision. And what that project did was enhanced auto display. So that was things like concrete stamping on their auto display. I believe they had fountains, enhanced landscaping, all of those things would incorporate that. Now, if the Planning Commission has particular concepts in mind, this would be the appropriate place to outline that.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Obviously, I think if they just park a couple of really nice Porsches out there, it'll probably take care of the enhancement. And then I guess the second question, also this one on the other condition, which is the relocation of the truck loading. Am I understanding it's the church that has the residential zone, not the school?
It's the Bishop Manogue High School.
So the high school and the church both have that zoning.
Correct.
So I guess then, is there an understanding where the car offloading can be? It can be in the same orientation, but maybe not in the same location. I'm just trying to understand based on how it wraps the site and where, the limitations of that particular finding somewhat limits where it can go. So I'm trying to understand if it can just be, if it's in the middle of the site, does that work? If it's on the north side of the site, just making sure that I understand what we're looking at there.
Sure. And code actually does allow that with enhanced mitigation. Could potentially be a pretty substantial wall. We were hoping to get that revision rather than condition it. We didn't have those revisions available. You might want to defer to Eric. I know he had some topical ideas as to where to relocate it. The condition was written broadly enough that it's not directly facing that residential zoning. But as I mentioned, it is, the subject site is set back 75 feet, would be buffered by a landscape buffer, as well as Bishop Manogue's mature landscaping on site. That condition would allow them the opportunity to relocate that somewhere that's not directly facing that. But I believe Eric had a location in mind.
Thanks. And Eric, I was going to ask you next. So have you guys looked at the site plan and have an idea of a location that you can place that in that meets the condition?
Yes, we have, Commissioner Mark. It kind of pigeonholes us on the north side of that building, but I believe with our circulation, we'll have more than enough room to move that loading and unloading zone on the north side of the building, basically facing the existing dealership to the north.
Okay. And just, I guess from an operational standpoint, how often are vehicles loaded and unloaded on the site? Do you have an idea about that?
I do not.
Okay.
I have nothing on scheduling of deliveries
Okay.
as it pertains to the cars.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Those are the questions that I had. Appreciate it.
Commissioners, other questions? I'm not seeing any hands. Discussion? Motion?
I'm ready to make a motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Munoz.
In the matter of case number LDC 21-00049, Bill Pierce Motors, Porsche dealership. Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the CUP based on the conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings.
Great, thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Munoz, second by Commissioner Draculich. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nay? Any nays? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you, guys. Commissioners.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5.3. This is case number LDC 21-00050 Spokane Street Loft Townhomes. This is a request for a tentative map to establish a 38 lot single family attached residential townhome subdivision. Michelle, do we have a presentation from the applicant?
I believe we have Mike Rayleigh available for a presentation.
Yes, good evening, everyone. For the record, Mike Rayleigh with Christie Corporation. Let me share my screen. Can everybody see that?
Yes, could you put it in
There we go.
slideshow mode?
The request you have tonight before you is for the Spokane Street Loft Townhomes. The site is located south of 6th Street on the west side of Spokane, kind of immediately across Spokane from Diamond's Casino. It's about 1.4 acres in size. What's being requested tonight is a tentative subdivision map to allow for the development of 38 townhome units within the mixed use zone. Here's a couple pictures of the existing conditions. The site is vacant. As you can see, it was probably developed at some point in the past. It's definitely been graded and there's some remnants of asphalt and whatnot on the site, but it is currently vacant. The site is zone mixed use, as are all surrounding properties. What we're proposing tonight is 38 loft style townhomes. These are fee simple, so they're for sale units, not rentals. There would be, people obviously come in and purchase them. There's a mix of 3-story floor plans ranging in size from just over 1,500 square feet to just over 2,000 square feet. Each unit will include a 2-car garage, which fronts an internal shared driveway, and access to the entire project will be from the alley, not from Spokane Street. So that will really provide for some significant street landscaping and improvements along Spokane, which I think will really add to the aesthetic appeal of that neighborhood. As I mentioned before, the internal building entries will face landscape paseos or landscape common areas. So the rear of the homes are essentially alley loaded with front doors facing nice common areas within the project. And a homeowners association will be responsible for not only the maintenance of those common areas, but the driveways as well. This is the project site plan with Spokane there on the bottom of the slide. As you can see, the access comes in from the existing alley, and then the garages are accessed off these alleyways. And then here are those paseos that I spoke about. The end units here that will face outwards towards the street will face the landscape areas, and then each building, the end unit of each building will face the street as well. And that's per the mixed use development standards. So the project really does have a nice modern contemporary design, uses a mix of materials and colors. They're energy efficient green design and have varied roof planes and articulation. And Ben, I should mention Ben Navo with Urban Lofts is on the call with me tonight. Not only is he with Urban Lofts, he's also the project architect. So here's a perspective of the units along Spokane Street, kind of gives you an idea of that articulation, the varied materials and colors. And this is a kind of a street scene along Spokane looking towards the alley. So this would be the Spokane frontage looking to the west. These are Urban Lofts builds throughout the country. They're based out of Texas, but they build in Texas, Georgia, Nevada. They're finishing a project in Las Vegas now and actually looking at additional projects in Reno. These are some of the typical finishes that would be expected inside of the units. And I think some additional considerations, it directly addresses the current housing crisis that we're experiencing in our community. It provides a new housing option and type in the area. Right now, only multifamily rental units are available. This provides for a more affordable conventional single family option in the market. The plan provides for efficient plan or layout and design. Really does promote a live, work, recreate urban lifestyle. There's obviously everyday services, employment within walking distance, transit, those sorts of things. In this, I think most importantly, represents a significant reinvestment into the area, which can serve as a catalyst for further redevelopment of that area, which has been a long time goal for the city of Reno. So with that, I'll wrap up my brief presentation. As I mentioned, Ben is on the line. Also, J.R. Hildebrand and Travis Marshall with Tech Engineering Consultants, the project engineers, are available, and we're happy to address any questions that you might have.
Great, thank you. Do we have a presentation from the city?
I believe we have Kyle on the line. Kyle, can you hear us okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Can everybody hear me?
Yes. Are you ready to
Hi.
do your presentation?
Yeah, let me try and share my screen here. I had it pulled up and it disappeared, sorry. Okay, can everybody see that okay? All right. Good evening, commissioners.
Did
Kyle
you put it
Chisholm,
on slideshow? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Is that better?
Much.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Kyle Chisholm, assistant planner for the record. Mike Rayleigh did a nice job summing up an overview of the project. And for some reason, I can't see you all now. I just see 2 PowerPoints on my screen, so I apologize. Transitioning back into the office, so I don't have the technology down. But I'll just scroll through this, keep moving. Anyway, as Mike noted, it's a 1.4 acre site located in between East 6th Street and East 4th Street on the west side of Spokane. And that's just east of North Wells Avenue Boulevard. And it's this just clarifies a request for a tentative map to establish 38 single family attached residential townhome subdivision. The proposed density is 27.14 units per acre, consists of 7 3-story buildings with a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units, site improvements, common areas, landscaping, and private and public street improvements. The town homes, I just want to mention, are allowed by right in the mixed use urban zoning district. Here's an ortho view of the site, highlighted in blue there. And a picture of the zoning map. You can kind of see it's just a little bit east. The downtown area is just west of Wells. I'm going to scroll past this site plan because it's a little busy and to give you a better, prettier image with the landscape plan. And so this this image is oriented a little weird, but to get it on the screen, Spokane Street's on the top of your screen there. And you can see the alleyway on the bottom of the screen. The 38 townhomes are accessed via those 3 private driveways, as Mike mentioned. And all the buildings are oriented interior, with the garages and the entrances are oriented to the interior of the site, with the buildings, what am I trying to say, are meeting all the orientation standards towards the public street, with the ground level entrance and pedestrian connectivity directly to the buildings. As you can see kind of here in this photo simulation that Mike also just shared. And so the key issues as outlined in the staff report were the overall site design and the availability of public services, utilities, and infrastructure. And the site has been designed to meet all the code requirements for those things, and adequate infrastructure is available to serve the project. So in addition, staff did receive 2 phone calls after the initial courtesy notices went out, and both of the neighbors were in support of the request. And with that, staff was able to make all the applicable tentative map findings and recommends the Planning Commission approve the request. And I am happy to take any questions you may have.
Great, thank you, Kyle. Commissioners, let's do disclosures. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No disclosures.
Commissioner Gower?
Disclosures.
Commissioner Draculich?
I'm familiar with the site.
Commissioner Munoz?
Same disclosure.
Commissioner Taylor, same disclosures. Michelle, do we have any public comment for this item?
Did you get
Madam
John
Chair.
Marshall?
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Marshall, welcome.
Thank you. I was sneaking in there. My first name is also Travis, so you might have gotten a little confused there with the other Travis Marshall. Anyway, no disclosures.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. Michelle, do we have any public comment for this item?
We did not receive public comment or voicemails for this item.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions of either the applicant or of Kyle. Who'd like to go first?
Madam Chair, I have a quick question for the applicant. Mike, I was looking at the Urban Loft website, and it looks like this is a fairly typical product that they do kind of around the country. Just thinking about the site though, and knowing that there's no maximum density here, I mean, I was curious if, you know, it was just a simple answer of this is the kind of product that we offer, or, you know, I guess the question is, are we maximizing the opportunity available to provide housing on this infill site?
So I think there's a couple ways of looking at that. First off, it is their typical, you know, their kind of bread and butter of what they do, and we've been looking at some other sites here locally with doing some higher densities. However, if you look at the housing that's available in that neighborhood now, it's all high density apartment type units. There's no really for sale product or no fee simple products new in the market. So I think it provides a niche that's not currently available in that area right now. And I think that's one reason why they looked at that site is, hey, here we can offer a product that's not available and that we think is appealing for that area.
Is there a design or construction limitation influencing the cost that's prohibitive for going higher here?
You know, I might defer that over to Ben. Ben, you might be better suited than I am to answer that.
So what exactly is the question about the cost?
I don't understand.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was saying, is there a reason that you wouldn't go for more density on this site? Is it cost, or is it really, you know, what's driving that?
Cost is definitely always an issue, but fee simple townhomes is just it's our business model. It's what we do from city to city. So we try to, you know, fit as many homes on the site as possible, which is what we've done in this case. And so that's mainly the reason. It's fee simple townhomes is what we know best exactly.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Ben.
Commissioners, other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair. I just want Commissioner Gower to know too. I had similar questions when I met with Mr. Borkart. And also he says there's about 27 dwelling units per acre. And I thought maybe there was an opportunity to do some more here, but thanks for the answer, Mike and Ben. I know there's limitations to all these things, but those are my thoughts too, Commissioner Gower. So thanks for bringing it up.
Commissioners, other questions?
Madam Chair, I have a question for Mike, and I'm just trying to, I'm looking at the alley side. And this is page Exhibit C, Conceptual Elevations and Photo Sims.
Okay.
And so when you look on like lot 33, 32, 21, 29, what is the setback from the, is that it's a little unclear as to what the height of the side of that structure, right, it looks like maybe a 5-foot setback, or what's the setback from the alley to the actual building site?
Here, I'm trying to pull it up on my screen as well, so let's see if I've got something that's dimension. Ben, do you have the plan that shows the setback dimension on that? Bear with me, Commissioner Marshall. I have it. I'm going through my files to make sure I find the right one.
There's a 5-foot setback along that alley. And we're a little bit further off that alley than the 5 feet. It's about between 8 and 10 feet.
Is there, I didn't, and unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to go look at the site, but what's the, maybe this is a question for Kyle as well, but what's in that alley? Yeah, are we seeing similar heights and little setback?
I can go ahead, Kyle, if you want to.
Yeah,
Mike, if you know, you can go ahead.
If you look at the aerial, the buildings to the north is built directly to the property line. They're set back, I would say, about 7 to 8 feet off of the alley. The alley, as you get down towards 4th Street, those buildings are set back, but then directly across the alley, there's basically fencing and a yard built directly to the alleyway itself. So basically 0 setback on the other side of the alley.
And that side is going to be 3-story, or
Correct.
they're all 3-story basically, right?
Correct. So there's more of a setback along Spokane Street, but then, like I say, on the alley side, there's a smaller setback. However, on the opposite side of the alley, those property owners are utilizing that space all the way to the alley. There's a fence right at the edge of the alley, and then they're storing equipment and materials right up to the alley itself.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
You bet.
Appreciate that. I don't, Commissioner Johnson, I think I remember, did we have one that was similar to this? That I was just trying to think back on a concern of yours there's one particular alley side that had very little articulation.
I think you're thinking about the project from Lakeside, and that was based on the adjacency to the residences. It wasn't so much the setback, it was the articulation against the adjacent residential property.
No, it was another one in this general area, or maybe more closer to downtown, but maybe I'm misremembering something.
Commissioner Marshall, I think you might be talking about the Pine Street townhomes.
Yeah.
And that was the street facing articulation, not
Okay.
the alley articulation.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Johnson, question for Kyle. I'm looking at the south side of the site, and it appears that the existing adjacent project is built to the property line. I believe the wall is on the property line, and maybe Mike can respond to this as well. And I can't tell then from the site plan for this project if the fencing, it appears that the fencing turns the corner and leaves like a 5-foot gap. I can't get a good sense of the fencing line because it seems to be going across the property line on the drawings. I guess my question is, can we enclose that portion of the project so there's not an open 5-foot walkway between the adjacent building and this development? So I don't know if Kyle or Mike, if you can maybe key me in on whether the fence can go, if we can eliminate that space there, because I'm thinking of it in terms of one of our findings for pedestrian and bicycle safety and that kind of thing, that having a little breezeway between a 6-foot galvanized fence and a 18-foot wall is probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't see that as an issue. I mean, that's the front doors of those, so we want to obviously make it look nice. So to wall, we don't want to create that no man's land either, because that's where those front doors face. So you would have the walkway in there to get to the residences, but you know, I don't, are you concerned that you'll have kind of cut through pedestrian traffic there, or?
I'm just concerned, I can't tell where the fence is. So if you're gonna put a fence there, are you putting it against the adjacent wall? Or
So there wouldn't be a fence on that south side at all. The
okay,
wall
so
would,
you would run your fence in and stop it at the existing wall on the
correct.
Okay. All right. Sorry, that was far more complicated than it needed to be, but
no problem. No, I see what you mean now. And yeah. So exactly, no fence on that south side.
Okay, and then I guess it's a similar situation on the north.
On the north. Yep.
But that one's a little different because you have a building setback there and a driveway minor hammerhead extension there. So there may be a need for fencing there, especially since there's an overhang on that backside of that building.
Right. But the fencing would essentially just kind of join up to the building, so you wouldn't create that no man's land where people could. You know,
and that's not an issue
anywhere where people could hide or
and just making sure, Kyle, from the community development standpoint, basically building to the adjacent building, as long as it's on the property line, is not an issue from a code standpoint.
No, they need to meet the fire separation requirements with that both from the property line and from that adjacent building. And I actually talked to that neighbor, and they didn't want a wall there or fence. And the applicant's not proposing one at this time, because it would kind of, as Mike noted, kind of create kind of a weird kind of no man's zone with a wall or fence there.
Okay. Well, I think everybody understands the concern, so I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Hey, commissioners, other questions? I don't see any. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz. Am I good? I froze.
Oh, no, you're.
Oh, okay. I just want to say that all the infill and discussion we've been having lately, for me, this is exactly what we were looking for, exactly what I was looking for anyway. So I really like the project. I think it's a good spot for it. That area of Reno has really needed some new construction and a revitalization for years now. And I think this is a step in the right direction. This is my opinion.
I agree with you 100%, Commissioner Munoz. Sounds like you might want to make a motion.
If there's no more discussion, I absolutely can.
Commissioners, other discussion?
Madam Chair, just a quick follow-up to Commissioner Marshall's comments. And I appreciate that in looking at the articulation of the building. But I do remember there have been a couple of them that have come up with concerns about articulation. But as Jeff mentioned, they were sort of the front-facing portion of the building, whereas abutting the public way. And so while I would love to see a little bit more articulation on the side of the, facing the alleyway, because it is facing the alley, and there is some variation in both the stepping of the building and the location of the buildings. To me, it's not an issue like those we've had before. So I definitely appreciate Commissioner Marshall bringing it up, and just wanted to mention that in my comments.
Commissioner Munoz?
In the matter of LDC 21-00050 Spokane Street Loft Townhomes, based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the tentative map subject conditions listed in the staff report, and I can make all the findings.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Munoz, a second by Commissioner Jakulich. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. Good luck with your project. I'm excited to see.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5.4. This is case number LDC 21-00052 Hopper Residence Edition. This is a request for a major deviation for a second floor addition. Do we have a presentation from the applicant?
Yes, I believe we have Daniel Hopper here.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Hi. Okay, you have 15 minutes to do your presentation. So if you'd like to bring up your PowerPoint and share your screen, that would be super. If you could make it a slideshow, that would be great.
Okay, is that better?
Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, so thank you for having me tonight. So my name is Danny Hopper, and so just a little bit of background on the property that we're looking to remodel. So we, the initial house that we bought about, my wife Ashley and I bought about 5 years ago, was constructed in 1948. It's currently about 970 square feet. It's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. There is an existing 2-car garage that we are looking to convert into additional living space with a 2nd-story master bedroom above that. A new 2-car garage is also going to be constructed with east-facing garage doors, and south-facing garage doors, and I'll show you that in a second. And the project is going to add over 1,000 square feet of living space for a total approximately 2,000 square feet of living space. A few years ago, actually back in 2019, we first started this project looking into remodeling, and at that time we thought this was a minor deviation. So we actually got signatures from all of the property owners around us, and then upon submitting the application, we realized it was actually a major deviation due to the existing garages being within the setback, and I'll show you that in a moment. So we are, just basically looking to expand, not pushing any further into the setback, but basically just going straight up and going from there. So just to give you an idea of the area that we're working with, I apologize if this is a little bit blurry, but so you can see our current property is bordering on the lake ditch. We are on a private road at the end of Hardesty Drive off of Tacoma, and you can see our property line is kind of interesting, and the area that's shaded on the top of the existing garage is shaded in here. And this is the issue that we're having right now, where it's too far within the setback to be considered a minor. And again, this garage was constructed back in 1948. So I'm assuming back then there was no setback issues or anything like that. So our current project, or our proposed project, is basically just going straight up. So we're not pushing any further back into that setback. And then we are going to be constructing a new 2-car garage. But again, due to property lines and that setback, we're actually going to have to face it south due to having the garage doors, so far away from the street. And again, this is, even though it is a private street. What else? I think that's pretty good. We did have somebody from the lake ditch come out earlier this week, and he was fine with the project. I just have to sign basically a waiver saying if during construction anything happens to the ditch, that they're not held responsible or anything like that. Here are the elevations that we're proposing. So again, it's just basically putting on a 2nd-story master on top of our existing garage. Again, you can see the south elevation with 2 single. We're going to just basically reuse our existing garage doors and just have to face those south due to how far away they are from the street. Let's see, I think that was pretty much it. Again, originally we thought that this was going to be considered a minor deviation. So we actually went to all of these property owners listed on here and got their approvals for the project at that time. And then again, realizing that it was going to be more than that, and then COVID hit, so it's delayed the project quite a bit. But looking to hopefully get started sooner than later. And again, super simple. Like you can see on the south elevation, this highlighted area of the within that setback. But again, we're just going straight up and not any further within that setback. So yeah, and again, super. So yeah, I was just going to keep it short and sweet, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have a presentation? Looks like Grace.
We have Grace
Welcome.
available.
Thank you. Let's see if I can pull it up. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes, perfect.
Beginner's luck, I think. All right, good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Grace Whited, Assistant Planner for the record. Here tonight to talk about case LDC 21-00052, Hopper Residence Edition. Danny did a great job overviewing the project, so I will try to keep it short and sweet as well. The quarter-acre site is located west of Hardesty Drive, approximately 340 feet south of the intersection with Tacoma. This is a request for a major deviation of about 20.5% from the rear yard setback. This would allow the applicant to encroach approximately 4 feet into that setback. The site is zoned SF8, which requires a minimum rear yard setback of 20 feet. Many of the properties, like Danny had said, don't meet that minimum requirement of 20 feet due to the age of the neighborhood. So the applicant's existing ground floor already encroaches into the rear yard setback about 4 feet. They would just like to build a second story directly on top of that first ground floor. This major deviation would bring the whole structure into conformance. And I think Danny had a similar picture in his slideshow, but this demonstrates the lake ditch, which provides about 24 feet of an additional buffer to those rear yard neighbors. SF8 does allow for 35 feet in height by right, and this structure is proposed to be 25 feet high. This slide also demonstrates the portion of the second story that would be encroaching into that rear yard. So it's just that little sliver, if you can see my cursor. This is a somewhat current picture of the ditch. It demonstrates some mature landscaping that would provide additional screening to those neighbors in the rear. And as Danny noted, he got sign off from all of the neighbors that could potentially be impacted from this addition. I did receive multiple inquiries from area property owners who received courtesy notices in the mail. I received one comment in opposition due to concerns with increased density. However, this is not a request to increase the density. And then condition 4 addresses any construction that could potentially interfere with the ditch. And as Danny said, he had a representative from the lake ditch out there to view the project already. So in conclusion, staff recommends approval of the major deviation based on compliance with applicable findings and subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, disclosures. Commissioner Gower.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no disclosures.
Commissioner Johnson.
Madam Chair, no disclosures.
Commissioner Draculich.
No disclosures.
Commissioner Marshall.
No disclosures.
Commissioner Munoz.
Commissioner Munoz, I visited the street and the site. Other than that, no disclosures.
Commissioner Taylor, I visited the site and I believe we received one email that was related to density that wasn't necessarily applicable. Michelle, do we have any public comment for this item?
I did not receive any voicemail or public comment for this item.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the commission for questions of either the applicant or Grace.
I have a couple of questions, and maybe, I don't know, maybe either Grace or Jeff. Just this is an illustration of how we would used to treat a variance. and it's now coming in as a major deviation. Just wanted to point, I mean, this is what we're seeing is what we would have seen as a variance, and now it's a major deviation because it's over X percent and under Y percent or something.
Yeah. Do you want to take that, Jeff? Because I believe a minor deviation is under 10% of a variation from code. And then a major deviation is up to, or includes 50%. But we still have the variance process, I believe, which is over that 50%.
Commissioner Marshall, this is one of the new gems of our new code that would prevent having to go through a full variance process. This is one of the similar things that the city of Sparks does that we incorporated into our new code that was adopted in January.
So really we're not having to make the variance findings for site specificity and uniqueness and that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, I'm again a little late to the game, but is this Grace, is there a topographical change or an elevation change from the site to the properties across the ditch, or is it relative?
I think it's relatively similar elevation. I'm not positive on that. I think I don't know if they sit below the ditch, and I'm not sure if Danny might be able to provide some more clarity on that.
Yeah, so there are portions of the ditch where we do actually sit below the ditch. A few years ago when the ditch flooded, we did sandbag our rear door, our two rear doors. So yeah, we do sit below the ditch. I don't know the elevation below the ditch that we're sitting, but
Daniel, I was more talking about, you're going up in an area where, you're within the setback, and, we've had some issues, particularly within, along the alleys of people going up where they're in a non-conforming situation, and the height that they're going up is creating a significant issue for neighbors because they're sitting right next to, this one's a little different, but it's right on a property line, and going up over a garage, and so you're unfortunately it's somewhat similar here. But I think the major distinction between you is you've got the ditch, but what I'm trying to figure out is, are the properties on the other side sitting below you? So by going up, are you looking down into their backyards? And
yes, sir. So, I mean, the properties are surrounding us are, because we're below the ditch, I would say, I mean, they're either level or above the ditch a bit. So we would be, I guess, looking into their yards. But again, like I mentioned, when we thought that this was a minor deviation originally, we did get signature sign-offs on all of those adjacent properties immediately surrounding our property, and would be happy to provide those, if needed. Yeah. But
Commissioner
yeah,
Marshall, just as a point of reference, there's a 2-foot difference between the adjacent property and the subject site. They're 2 feet higher in elevation.
Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Other questions, commissioners? Discussion? Motion?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Munoz, discussion real quick. I was initially concerned with the height and of the area, but after visiting the site, the houses directly behind are quite a bit higher, so there's going to be no impeding there. And then just down the street, there's a large 2-story garage type with an addition up on top, exactly like he's doing here. So I see nothing wrong with this project, and I think it's a good one.
Thank you. Commissioners, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion. In the matter of case number LDC 21-00052, Hopper Residence Addition, Based on compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the major deviation subject to conditions listed in the staff report, and I can meet the findings.
Madam Chair, I'll second. Commissioner Munoz.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Yes. Madam Chair, we have within, particularly within, any area that it's got alleys. And in Ward 1, we have a bunch. And right now, we don't have anything that is controlling the height over existing non-conforming structures, particularly stepping back from the property lines. So I'll be voting no. Not that I think that this might not be a decent project, but I do think until we get something in that allows us to adjust the potential for significant height, we should be taking these very slowly. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Michelle, will you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Kathleen Taylor,
Yes.
John Marshall,
No.
JD Draculich,
Yes.
Peter Gower,
Yes.
Mark Johnson,
Yes.
Arthur Munoz.
Yes.
So we have 5-1 and 1 absent.
Great.
In favor.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Michelle. Thank you very much. Your motion carries. Good luck with your project. Thanks for hanging in through COVID.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace.
Okay, moving on to item number 6, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. Commissioner Johnson or Commissioner Gower?
I did it the last time.
I don't have any updates, Madam Chair.
Okay, moving on to item number 7, staff announcements. Jeff.
I'll try to make this quick so everyone can go get their tacos and margaritas. So on the last council meeting, we had the Lake Ridge Tennis Club, the 6,000 Plumas Street redevelopment appeal. Council ended up approving the project. They added a couple conditions, one for $1,000 per door affordable housing donation, and then another one for $1,000 per door for either pool facility or aquatic needs. The West Court Hobby Condo first reading was approved, so that's going to move on to second reading. Council also heard the planning work program. We haven't received a final ranking yet, and so as soon as we get that, we'll either follow up to the commission, hopefully then the next planning commission meeting with an announcement, or through some sort of memo to you guys. The exciting news is that in June, we are planning to return to in-person meetings. So that's very exciting. And so, yeah, I think that's all the news I have for now.
Madam Chair, may I just ask Jeff a question about his report?
Sure.
Jeff, is that going to be mandatory? Are you going to offer an option for commissioners to appear remotely?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can certainly follow up with you after this, after I catch up with Community Development Director and possibly.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part. You kind of faded out.
I think Michelle knows more than I do. So
if
so
you could just send an email around to everybody. Are we going back to the original, you show up, or if there's an alternative?
I think it's a 100% in person. I don't know that there is an alternative at this point.
That was my understanding as well.
I will follow up with an email to everyone though.
If it's different than that, thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. Item number 8, Commissioner's suggestion for future agenda items. Okay, moving on to number 9, Michelle, public comment. Do we have any public comment?
I did not receive any public comment or voicemails for this item.
Okay, we'll close public comment and move on to item number 10, adjournment.
So moved.
Ah, you guys are 10 minutes. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night.
Right.
Missed free margaritas by 10 minutes.
Oh, so
Good night, everyone. Have a great
Hey,
night.
good night.
Good night.